So just enjoying gathering. And tonight, friends, of course, it's summertime and we're heading up to Anglin Lake tomorrow. A number of us who are on the call tonight are heading to Anglin and just, feeling into our great teacher, the outdoors. And one of my favorite images for the Buddhist teachings is that we can pack our backpack of teachings and carry our backpack with us wherever we go. And so I'm going to lead a meditation tonight with 4 major skills that we can put in our backpack. And then I'll unpack those afterwards in the talk. And so settling in to a sense of the body and the breath, and settling into a sense of presence here. Bringing in our refuges of places we can take inspiration in the Buddha, in our internal capacity for peace and understanding. Just letting yourself rest there. Kind of like sometimes just resting into the most comfortable camp chair you have, the most comfortable lawn chair you have. It's got like a high back. Your neck is supported. And you can rest into your own Buddha nature. And bringing in the refuge of the teachings, the Dharma. And resting into these as well. Just imagining that you can rest back against the trunk of a tree and just let that tree support you. This is the support of the teachings. And then resting into the support of the Sangha. Letting the sense that you're not alone, that you are here with kindred spirits, also be a support for you. And so resting into the body as the sense of the whole body sitting. Sensing what it feels like for you to sense the whole body sitting. And within this whole body, sensing the breath, however you feel it. No need to make it any different. And sensing the breath inside the body. This breath moving the body. This ebb and flow of the breath that you can rest into also. Letting the breath breathe all by itself. Letting yourself put aside just for now the tasks or to-do list and just rest in the breath, the body. This is the first quality or the first item that we put in our backpack, this sense of secluding the sense doors, guarding the sense doors a little bit, gathering the attention. Let's feel how that feels in the body. And as we guard the sense doors, as we bring ourselves into seclusion, as we begin a tiny bit to quieten or still, we can notice that there are thought patterns in the mind. And the second thing we want to put in our backpack is an attitude that that's okay. Nothing's a problem. The mind thinking is another kind of ebb and flow, just like the breath. And just see what happens if you can bring an attitude of relaxation to what's happening now. When the mind comes back from thinking, just letting that be a part of the experience and gently coming back to the anchor in the body and the breath. Gently returning to a little bit of seclusion, if just even for a moment. Without aversion or pushing away, simply turning towards. A little bit of seclusion, resting in the body and the breath. And so simplifying, secluding with the body and the breath with a gentle resting in this anchor, an attitude of it's okay when the mind moves away. And the third quality that we want to put in our backpack is looking for anything that is pleasant in our experience, cultivating the pleasantness here with our attention. Is there anything pleasant in the body resting, in the steadiness of the body? Anything pleasant in the breath? The rocking of the breath, feeling resting back and receiving the breath. Anything pleasant in the attitude of it's okay, no problem, whatever happens in the experience. Any pleasantness and any ease in the body. Checking in every so often with anything pleasant in the body, the breath, as we rest into this anchor of the body and the breath. As we come to the end of our meditation, taking some time to practice the third item that we put in our backpack, the cultivation of wholesome states. And so sensing back over the meditation or into your system right now, sensing, is there anything pleasant? Is there anything that feels nice, that feels good? Steadiness perhaps, or a little bit of calm perhaps at the end of the exhale. Or resting in the breath. A little bit stiller in the mind. Perhaps a sense of softness or kindness. Anything that feels pleasant or skillful that you brought in to the meditation tonight. So welcome everyone. I've been asked, I have a special request that I'm responding to tonight. I had a request some time ago for a closer look at what we call the hindrances, and I've been waiting to respond to that request until it felt like the time. And I've been wanting to do a kind of a month on the hindrances, and so this is our month. And the hindrances are difficult or challenging states in the mind, which can also be doorways to ease and peace in the mind. And so we're going to look at these difficult states and how we can work with them. And to do this, we'll be working with our backpack. And now the hindrances, I want to say, are paired with another or partnered with another list called the 7 factors of awakening. The hindrances are the difficult states in our mind that are normal states. The factors of awakening are wholesome states that really support awakening. And these are partners in the teachings. And they are what make up what we call the 4th foundation of mindfulness. The first foundation is the body. These are places we pay attention to in our meditation. The first foundation is the body. And the second and third foundations are the mind and the emotions. And then the 4th foundation is understood as the processes of liberation. And so that's what we're looking at tonight, is the 4th foundation, the processes of liberation. And there are these 2 lists in this basket, in this foundation, the hindrances and the 7 awakening factors. Now, in some collections of the suttas, there are also 3 other lists in the 4th foundation. But Venerable Analayo's recent scholarship that I've been so excited about, as you know, over the last month or 2 sharing with you, I've been coaching in one of his classes down at IMS. His recent research is comparing the Pali suttas, that's the early suttas, with later suttas, the Chinese suttas, the Sanskrit, or the other ones. I'm not sure which other ones, but the Chinese ones for sure. He's comparing those. And what he's finding is that what all of the streams have in common are what he can identify as the earliest material, and later other things were added. So the early material in the fourth foundation of mindfulness are the hindrances, and this actually the 7 factors, and the hindrances kind of slide in there to accompany them. So these are our processes of liberation. And so I'm going to just list the 5 hindrances. The first is sensual desire, that unwholesome wanting that agitates the system. That's very different than wholesome wanting, which can lead us to coming to meditation. So sensual desire, that wanting of sensual pleasures that keeps us kind of grasping. The second is the flip side of that, which is ill will or aversion to what's here, ill will in the mind. The third and the fourth are another partnership, sloth on one side and torpor on the other, and sloth is like tiredness in the body and torpor is tiredness in the mind, normal states that we'll visit from time to time. And the fifth is doubt. And you know, the Buddha didn't underestimate these hindrances. He really took them seriously and said that they can feel like we're being imprisoned when we have the hindrances gripping the mind. But one of the important things to understand about the hindrances is that the hindrances are, one of the keys about the hindrances is that they are really only hindrances if we resist them and push against them and think they shouldn't be here, make them wrong. If we can bring an attitude of mindfulness, that is curious interest to them, then they can be a doorway. So that's what we'll look at tonight. Now, I can't resist, because we're going to Anglin, I can't resist bringing in a piece of guidance on hindrances that is likely familiar to you. It's been a few years since I talked about this, so I'm going to indulge myself with this. This is, you've probably seen this pamphlet, Guide to Bear Country. Guide to Safety in Bear Country. And I thought it has, it has a striking resemblance to the safety precautions we can take when we go into the mind and the hindrance country, in the mind and the heart. So I'm going to present this guide. I have the Bear Country Guide, and I've got the Hindrance Country Guide here. Guide to Safety in Hindrance Country. And so if you are, the thing about bears and hindrances is that they both can get a bad rap. Bears are just minding their own business. They're just doing their own thing. Same with the hindrances. It's when we make them a problem, when we start to resist them and have unhelpful habits like leaving our food out and things like that, attracts them. We can attract the hindrances just like we attract bears. And so there's a lot of good guidance in this pamphlet. And so here is the first piece of guidance. If you encounter a hindrance, it says, despite taking precautions, you may still encounter a hindrance. Remember that hindrances are complex and no two encounters are alike. There is no single strategy that will work in each situation, but you can minimize your risk by following these guidelines. First guideline, keep calm. Think ahead. Think ahead. Your brain is your best defense against a hindrance attack. Plan how to respond if you encounter a hindrance. That is what we're going to do tonight. We're going to plan ahead. Second tip for being in safety in hindrance country: don't run. Hindrances can easily outrun you. By running, you may trigger a multiple hindrance attack. Make yourself less vulnerable. Pick up small children and stay in a group. Third tip: give the hindrance space. Back away slowly and talk in a soft voice. Do not approach the hindrance or make direct eye contact. The last tip: leave the area or make a wide detour. If you cannot leave, wait until the hindrance moves out of the way and ensure that it has an escape route. And so these things are directly applicable to our work with hindrances. And these things also tie into what we can put in our backpack when we go into hindrance country. And so there are 4 things we can put in our backpack, 4 kind of tools, 4 ways of working with hindrances. And we're going to use the acronym P.A.C.K. And so the first thing we can do have in our backpack, the first handy dandy skill, mindfulness skill, is prevention. Same as with the bears. We can prevent hindrance attacks. So we'll talk about that. And the second is the A in P.A.C.K, which is abandon. So if we have a hindrance attack, how do we abandon? How do we abandon the hindrance attack? This is like walking away slowly from the bear. That's the second. The third, the C in P.A.C.K, is cultivate. Cultivate wholesome habits. Cultivate good habits, like keeping a clean camp. No leaving food around. No leaving food around, that'll attract the hindrance or attract the bear. And there's certain kinds of nourishment, certain kinds of nutrients that attract hindrances. So we're going to talk about that. And then the fourth, the K, is keep. So keeping. Once we cultivate wholesome habits, wholesome states, we want to keep them or sustain them in our minds and hearts, and also in our camp. We want to keep or sustain our good camp habits. And so that's the fourth thing that we're going to put in our backpack. And so let's take a look at the first one, prevention. Prevention, or protecting ourselves from a hindrance attack. And I'm going to go back to, again, some bear advice. There's a retreat center in British Columbia called Sea to Sky, and it's a wonderful place. It's very rustic. It's very wonderful on the coast, but it's quite rustic. And in their meditation hall, which is right in the forest, there is an instruction on the back of the door. And the instruction says, "Last one out of the hall, please put the 2x4 through the door handles to keep the bears out." And I think this is very good Canadian advice. And we can take this to heart for the hindrances. This is prevention. We're preventing, we're guarding the door. And this is what we did in our first part of our meditation tonight. We were guarding the door, guarding the sense door. We secluded our senses. We went into seclusion and we guarded the door. And so how we did that was we paid attention to the body and the breath. That's secluding our senses. We're kind of turning away from all the sensual pleasures, all the sense distractions. we're guarding the door, guarding the sense doors. And this will prevent, what this does is prevents the mind from going willy-nilly and being open to every thought that comes along, every hindrance that comes along. As we seclude the sense doors, as we guard the sense doors, we develop some calmness and tranquility. And this helps keep the hindrances at bay. You may have noticed, many people say that after a 30-minute sit, as the system calms, that the mind and the thoughts calm a little bit also. We don't always, but we can notice that a little bit. How many people have noticed that in a sit? Okay. So this is what happens when we calm and we guard the sense doors the way we do. We come back to the body and the breath. So we're protecting. That's the P of P.A.C. And then the second one, the A, we want to, this can be a number of different words, but I like the word attitude. And we want to bring the attitude of mindfulness. And this is how we abandon hindrances. We abandon the attitude that makes them a problem. You know, they can feel very turbulent, right? They can feel like the mind is very turbulent. So I want to bring a teaching in that I had on an airplane once. I was traveling and there was a little boy behind me with his mom. And I think this boy was maybe 4. And I could hear him. He had a loud voice. I couldn't hear his mom, but I could hear him talking. He was talking about this and that and this and that. And then the pilot came on the intercom and he said, "Hello, everyone. This is Captain so-and-so. Just want to let you know that we are going to experience a little bit of turbulence. So stay in your seats, keep your seatbelts on, and we should be through this in not too long." And the captain turned off the intercom and the little boy piped up to his mom, "Mom, what's turbulence?" And I couldn't hear her reply, but he said, is it outside the window? Where is it? Is it up? Is it above the plane? Is it beside the plane? Is it under the plane? Can I see it? And I can imagine him looking out the window for the turbulence. And he's looking and he's saying, "Mom, where is it? Mom." And then a little bit of silence. And then I heard him say, "Mom, I see it. I see the turbulence." I was thinking, I want to see the turbulence. I want to look out the window and see the turbulence. And I thought, wow, if we could bring that kind of excited curiosity to our inner turbulence, that's what we want to bring in this A, this attitude of curiosity to the turbulence. Is this turbulence underneath me? Is there something else underneath the turbulence? Is the turbulence above me? How big is the turbulence? Is it to the side? Is it to the right, to the left? Where is it coming from? How big is it? How can I feel it, sense it? We can bring our curiosity to the turbulence. So that's the A, the attitude. And as soon as we bring that attitude to the turbulence, it reduces its hold on us. It reduces it. What it does is it abandons, another meaning of the A in P.A.C., it abandons the worry that we have about it, even if for a moment. It abandons the story because we're in curiosity. And so the attitude of mindfulness can help us abandon the unwholesome attitude towards the hindrance, the attitude which is going to keep it being a problem. That turbulence was not a problem for that boy. So that's the second. And of course, Of course, it may be a very difficult kind of turbulence. I don't want to downplay that. And so if it's a very difficult kind of turbulence, we can still practice the attitude of mindfulness, open, caring, curiosity. We can also practice compassion. We can practice kindness, and all of those abandon the cycle of worry. At least abandon our grip on it. And so then the third thing we're going to put in our backpack. We've got prevention, we've got abandon, and we've got attitude. And then the C is cultivate. And so the first two are about dealing with the hindrance, preventing or abandoning it. The third and fourth are about cultivating wholesome states. And so we did this in our meditation tonight too, when I asked you to look around to see if there was anything pleasant. This is such a fundamental thing to have in our backpack. Every time I'm sitting now, I'm cultivating, I'm looking, is there any quiet joy? Is there any pleasantness? And this fortifies and nourishes the system. It grows the garden. It nourishes the flowers in the garden we want to grow. And as we cultivate those flowers, there's not as much room for the other plants, for the hindrances. So simply by cultivating these wholesome qualities, we diminish the room in the mind for the unwholesome, for the hindrance in them themselves. And then the last item in our backpack, the K, is keep. So once we've cultivated something or started to nurture the garden, we want to keep it. We want to keep it going, not in a graspy way, but in a wholesome way. And there are one of the biggest things we can do in this department is simply to notice and abide with any wholesome states that rise. And so if you noticed any wholesome states in the meditation, or just right now, sense into your body, is there anything in this moment that feels pleasant, that feels nourishing or supportive? It might be simply the sense of steadiness or heaviness in the body. Could be the pleasantness of being connected in the Dharma with the Sangha. Could be the memory of Doris's puppy bouncing into the frame. Is there anything now that you can turn to that feels pleasant, helpful, wholesome? And if you find that, sense what it feels like in the body. And abide there for one breath, or two, or three. We simply want to begin to notice and abide with these kinds of states. Begin to make our brain and our whole system a bit more Velcro. And this truly is a lifetime practice. There is no end to the depth of connection we can have with these wholesome states. This can just simply continue to grow and grow. It's not like, oh yeah, I've had enough of that trivial kind of pleasant stuff. Let's get into the real work. This is the real work. It really is. Another thing that we can look for more specifically is the absence of the hindrances. When the hindrances are here, they take up the whole screen of the TV. Our minds are Velcro for that, for good reason, for survival reasons. And the absence of the hindrances are absent more than we realize because our mind kind of tunes out at that time. So we can kind of set the radar out, and it tunes out for good reason again, because we don't need to tune into the absence of the hindrances in order to survive. At the amygdala level, at the survival brain level. So we are really cultivating this as we pay attention to the absence of the hindrances. And so the central desire, if it's not here, that is, if we're not always looking somewhere else, what is here, what rises when we abandon sensual desire, is contentment. And this can come in such small ways. I remember once on retreat, I noticed a pattern in my mind and heart. I would sit down, and then I would, about halfway through my cup of tea, I would think, I don't have enough tea for the rest of my meal, and it's getting cold, so I should go get more tea. Sounds innocent enough, right? I would go get more tea, and I'd come back and I'd finish my meal. But I noticed at the end of my meal, I was always kind of agitated. And so as I quieted down, I noticed this pattern of getting up in the middle of the meal. And so I just decided to experiment with not doing that. So I gave up, I abandoned the sensual desire of wanting the tea, and I stayed there with my lukewarm tea. And what rose in the absence of that sensual desire was contentment. It was a small trade-off. It was a worthwhile trade. And so that's one thing you can look for. Just notice when the grasp is there, and experiment with letting it go. Aversion, if the absence of aversion, which is ill will, is goodwill. So notice when you have some goodwill. And if we can name it, that can help it grow too. When does goodwill rise? It might rise right now as you're here in the Sangha. It's rising for me right now as I have the happiness of looking at you all. And so there's goodwill, and then you just pay attention to it. You just feel it in the heart. That's all. The absence of sloth and torpor. The absence of kind of sludginess in the mind and the heart is here more than we know. And here, this is a beautiful moment I'm going to share with you that I've shared before here. And this is another area that I just can't get enough of. And fortunately, there's lots of opportunity to practice it. This is Joseph Goldstein's advice. When the mind goes away to thinking, when it comes back, and it might go into daydreaming, it might go into sloth and torpor, it might go into other places too. But when say you're tired, and then you kind of wake up to the fact that you're tired, we can make a note there. Oh, I'm tiredness. Or when the mind comes into presence, we can say awake again. That moment that the head nods, and then you notice the head's nodding. Awake again. Awake again. Not asleep again. No, awake again. And pay attention to this tiny little quality of awakeness in that small moment. Awake again. Awake again. And there are other moments we can notice that we have alertness in the system. Just pay attention. Just feel what it feels like. And then doubt, the opposite of doubt is confidence. When do you have confidence? There are times that you have confidence. You might have confidence that if you Okay, here's one. You might have confidence that if you turn on the kettle, the water will boil. That seems simple, but we can feel into that little sense of, yeah, that's going to happen. Small, tiny moments like that can build the Velcro for confidence. And that can help us feel that confidence can be here more. And so then this spirals, all this kind of cultivating and keeping or sustaining spirals back into prevention, because as we cultivate and keep these wholesome states, that supports the prevention of the further arising of hindrances. And so what we've got in our backpack is we've got prevention, skills of prevention, and mindfulness is really the skill that guards the door. Mindfulness, we aim our mindfulness at the body and the breath, at what's here in this moment. That guards the sense door. So we've got prevention. We have abandonment. We can abandon through turning towards wholesome states, or we can also, what the A, have attitude, this attitude of mindfulness about our turbulence, curiosity about the turbulence. We've got the C of cultivation, which truly we can do with every time we sit. Every time we think of it, ask the question, what is there here that's pleasant? Is there any quiet joy here? The profundity of that one practice is very, very, very great. And then the last one, keeping and sustaining, can notice the wholesome state and then spend time with it. 1, 2, 3 breaths. What does it feel like in the body? What does it feel like in the heart? What does it feel like in the mind? What does it feel like? Just abide there. And so let's let the words settle a little bit. And as we settle here for a moment, I'll just guide a little bit of a little guided meditation again, simply in the pack, in what we've got in our backpack. And so guarding our sense doors, this prevention of hindrances simply through mindfulness of the body and the breath, is noticing the sense of simplicity, the sense of seclusion, guarding the sense doors simply through placing the attention in the body and the breath, and to sense again what happens as you do that. Noticing the attitude of curiosity, mindfulness, open curiosity and kindness that we can bring to our experience. Inviting our whole body to soften. Abandoning ill will in this way. And this leads naturally to cultivating care, calmness, and other wholesome states. And then we can gently cultivate keeping them or sustaining them, not with a graspy energy, more with an abiding. Just noticing any sense of the cultivation of pleasantness, of any calmness or softness or gentleness or steadiness. By noticing where that is in the body, what it feels like in the heart and the mind, and just abiding there for a breath or two or three. At the end of the exhale, there's a little spot where the body kind of can feel quite grounded and still and settled. Right at the end of the exhale might be a place where you can sense in to sense of stillness and abide there. And so, friends, this is our backpack that we can take with us into hindrance country. I feel like singing, if you go out in the woods today. Oh my gosh, there's a bear. Renee, you should put yourself on gallery and see Renee's bear. Thanks, Renee. Yes. And you know, just a final note, these bears, you know, we kind of, hindrances get a bad rap, bears get a really bad rap. Bears are real powerful animals that are understood to be real, in the indigenous way, very, very powerful. And so we can transform our relationship to them. So thank you, Renee, for that. Goodbye. So we'll keep that bear up there, Renee, and we'll wave at the end. We'll dedicate the merit of our practice now. And so may this backpack travel with you everywhere. May this backpack help you to meet hindrances in hindrance country and transform them into opportunities for cultivating and keeping wholesome states. May you have confidence with this backpack that you can meet hindrances with ease and wisdom. May the benefit of our practice ripple out and touch all beings. May our practice tonight be a cause for liberation for all beings everywhere, the human beings in the world, the four-legged beings, and especially the bears. May all beings everywhere be free and live with ease. Thank you so much, dear friends.